Alla clutched little Dmitri tighter, his tiny body trembling against hers. The scent of pine and damp earth filled her nostrils, a stark contrast to the stale beer and violence that permeated her life with Boris. Last night's rage still echoed in her ears, the sickening thud of his fist against the wall, the chilling gleam in his eyes as he'd screamed about his gambling losses. He'd lost everything, at cards. Even the meager savings she'd squirreled away for Dmitri's future. Leaving had been a frantic, silent escape. She'd packed a small bag with essentials, Dmitri's bottle, a few nappies. The pre-dawn darkness had been her ally, cloaking her flight. But now, hours later, the woods were a confusing maze of shadows and towering trees. Panic clawed at her throat. She was lost, utterly and terrifyingly lost. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, a pair of luminous eyes pierced the gloom. A wolf, large and powerful, stood a few yards away, its gaze unnervingly intelligent. Fear warred with a desperate hope. Instead of running, Alla felt a strange calm settle over her. She sat down, placing Dmitri gently on the ground, and began to hum a lullaby. The wolf remained motionless, watching her. Then, to her astonishment, it turned and walked away, its tail held high. Alla, her heart pounding, followed. The wolf led her through the dense undergrowth, its progress surprisingly sure and deliberate, for hours. As the sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows, they emerged from the woods into a small clearing. A quaint, stone cottage stood nestled amongst the trees, smoke curling lazily from its chimney. A woman, her face etched with lines of both wisdom and worry, stood on the porch, her eyes wide with surprise. The woman rushed towards them, her embrace warm and comforting. "Alla? My sweet Alla, is it really you?" Alla stared, speechless. The woman's face held a resemblance, a faint echo of someone she couldn't quite place. In the cottage, amidst the comforting scent of baking bread and wood smoke, the woman began to tell her story. A story of a brutal attack on her family when Alla was just a toddler, a kidnapping, years of desperate searching, and a gnawing, persistent hope. The wolf, she explained, was a guardian, a protector of the family, a creature imbued with ancient loyalty. This cottage, nestled deep within the woods, was Alla's ancestral home, untouched by time, waiting for its rightful heir. The pieces fell into place, shocking and beautiful. Her desperate marriage to Boris, her life in the orphanage, all the pieces of a puzzle she never knew existed. The woman was her aunt, the only surviving member of her family, having lived a life secluded in this hidden sanctuary. Her kidnapping, she explained, had been an event deliberately kept hidden by certain parties to keep Alla's inheritance, a substantial land estate, from her family. Alla wept, relief and a potent mixture of shock and joy washing over her. As Dmitri gurgled happily in her arms, gazing at the flickering firelight, she understood. The wolf had not only guided her to safety, but had led her home, to a life she never knew she had.